carefully. What if I had this? What if I asked you to graph this inequality that I'm about to write? Negative 2 is less than or equal to x is less than 6. So in the ones we just did, those 6 problems we just did, the inequality, how many inequalities were in each problem? Just one. Here you have how many? 2. Okay? So what this is saying is that my x's, my solutions must be between what two numbers? 6 and a negative 2, or negative 2 and a what? 6. So all my solutions are between negative 2 and what? 6. So on the number line, if this is 0, I am going to need a negative 2, and I'm going to need a what? 6. And on negative 2, is negative 2 a solution? Yes, because if I say x is negative 2, is negative 2 less than or equal to negative 2? Less than or equal to? Yes, it's equal to. And is negative 2 less than 6? Yes. So I'm going to use a bracket because of the equal sign. For 6, am I going to use parentheses or brackets? Parentheses pointing which way? To the left. And I shade in all the numbers that are located where? Between them. Notice no arrows, right? No arrows, because you're not going to infinity to negative infinity. You're going from negative 2 to what? 6, and you're done. That's your solution. You have no other solutions. You still have how many solutions here, though? An infinite number, because you have all rational numbers, irrational numbers between these two numbers. It's still an infinite number of solutions, but notice no arrows. Now, this inequality right here is called a compound inequality. That's a compound inequality. So when you see the two inequalities like that, that's a compound inequality. All right. Now, in interval notation, remember, you read a graph from left to right. In interval notation, I'm going to put what first? Bracket, negative 2, comma, 6 with a parentheses. Okay? No infinity, no negative infinity, because it was bounded between two numbers. All right? So we'll call this number 1. All right, number 2. Let's suppose you want to solve this inequality. Negative 3 is less than x minus 2 is less than 6. What made the first one easy to graph the solutions? Because x was in the middle by itself. So if I were to kind of cover this up right here, I have this very simple inequality now. And you would just get x by itself, right? What would you do to get x by itself? Add 2 to both sides. But I don't have a simple inequality. A simple inequality meaning that one inequality. This is what kind of inequality? Compound. So if I cover this side, I'd still have to do what to both sides? Add 2. So think of this as 3 parts. You have the left side, the middle, and the right side. So if I'm going to get the variable x in the middle, that's the idea, to get the x in the middle, I'm going to have to add 2 to 3 parts. So you got to say plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. And then you combine like terms. What's negative 3 plus 2? It's less than, x is less than 8. And you found the solutions to the original problem. The solutions to the original problem would be any real number that's between what two numbers? Negative 1 and 8. So, for example, is 7 a solution? Yes, because 7 is in here, right? So let's see. What's 7 minus 2? And is 5 less than 6? And at the same time, is it bigger than negative 3? Yes. So you graph, then, If this is 0, I need a -1, and what else do I need? An 8. And on both of those, I'm going to use parentheses. So the one in -1 will be pointing to the right, the one in 8 will be pointing to the left. And I just shade in between them. Okay, so that's what you do. That's all you do. What's interval notation?
Parentheses, -1, comma, parentheses.
Yep. All right. All right, number 3. All right, number 3, let's suppose we had this. Suppose we had 0 is less than or equal to 2x minus 1 divided, let's just do 2x minus 1. 2x minus 1 is less than 6. So 0 is less than or equal to 2x minus 1 is less than 6. So again, I have two inequality symbols, so it's called a compound inequality. And if I were to cover this side, based on what we did in the previous part of the hour, you would have to do what to both sides here? First, add 1 and then divide by 2. That's the idea you would use here. Except there are how many parts to this compound inequality? 3. So you're going to add 1 to 3 parts, just like this. So what's 0 plus 1?
1.
Is less than or equal to? 2x, because -1 and 1 is 0, right? And that's less than or equal to, I'm sorry, that's less than what? 7. What's the next step?
Divide everything by 2.
Divide everything by 2. I need you to turn in the worksheets. And so I get 1/2 is less than or equal to x. It's less than 7/2. You'll see that? Now in the previous two examples, the numbers on the outside were integers. Here they're not integers, so you would have to estimate where they're located. So it'll be a numbered number line. So let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, and so on. 1/2 is easy because it's a proper fraction. Where's 1/2 located?
Halfway between 0 and 1.
Halfway between 0 and 1. So let's say here. So I'm put a 1/2 right here. Now 7/2, you may want to rewrite. 7/2 is proper, improper. Improper. So you may want to rewrite 7/2 as a mixed number. So remember you said 2 into 7. Remember that? So 2 goes into 7 how many times? 3 times 2? The remainder of 1. So 7/2 is 3 and what? 1/2. So that's between 3 and 4. Halfway between 3 and 4. So that's 7/2. All right, now on 1/2, what do I need?
Bracket.
Okay, pointing to the right. On 7/2, what do I need? Pointing to the left. Make sure it looks like parentheses, and then I'll shade in between those two numbers. And that's it. That's all you do. In interval notation, what would you write? Okay, bracket. 1/2, comma. 3.5 is fine, or you can say 7/2 does not matter with a what though? Parentheses. How many solutions are there? An infinite number. All right, so that's number 4. All right, I'm sorry, that was number 3. Number 4. All right, number 4, let's say we had, all right, let's say we had this. Okay, suppose we had -6 is less than x plus 1 divided by 3 is less than or equal to 2. So if I were to cover, let's say this right here, what would you do? Yeah, multiply both sides by 3, right? Clear the fractions. Same thing here, except there's not 2 sides, it's how many parts? 3. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over. All right, so you're going to say times 3 times 3 times 3, right? Just like you would if it was just a simple inequality or just an equation. All right, what's 3 times negative 6? It's less than. The 3's divide out. What's left?
X plus 1,
Okay. Is less than equal to?
6.
All right, so that's where I'm at. Okay. But remember, I'm trying to solve the original problem. To find the solution to the original problem, I really need to get x in the middle. So subtract 1 from all 3 parts. Okay. What's negative 18 and negative 1?
Negative 19.
Is less than?
X.
Is less than equal to?
5.
5. All agree? So the solutions to the original inequality, the original compound inequality, would be any real number that's between what 2 numbers? Okay. And then on my math lab is going to ask you something like this. Not including what? Negative 19, because there's no equal sign, but including what? 5, because of the equal sign. So on the number line, this is 0, this is negative 19, and this is 5. On negative 19, is negative 19 a solution or not a solution?
Solution.
It's not a solution because there's no equal sign here. So I'm going to use parentheses or brackets. Parentheses pointing which way?
To the right.
To the right. Over here, is 5 a solution?
Yes.
Yes, because the equal sign. You can check. Let's check. What's 5 plus 1?
6.
Okay. 6 divided by 3? 2. Is 2 less than equal to 2? Yes. And is negative 6 less than 2? Yes. Okay. Let's see why 7, I'm sorry, I'll make it a nice number. Let's see why 11's over here, right? Is 11 a solution? No. Let's see why 11 doesn't work. Listen carefully to this. What's 11 plus 1? 12. What's 12 divided by 3? 4. Okay, now listen carefully. Is negative 6 less than 4? Yes. But why is it not a solution?
4 is not less than or equal to.
Because 4 is not less than equal to what? 2. Okay? All right, so that's why. All right, so in interval notation, you would say parentheses negative 19, comma, 5 with a bracket. Makes you understand why 11 didn't work. Because remember, this says whatever my solution is, when I substitute it, that number right here that I'm pointing to has to be between what number? Negative 6 and what? 2. So when I used 11, which isn't shaded, I forgot to shade it by the way, which isn't shaded, 11 plus 1 is 12, 12 divided by 3 is 4. The issue is that 4 is not what? Less than or equal to 2. Okay? All right, any questions on this? All right, yes?
So say like how we did earlier, about our negative number, it goes for the same thing.
Yeah, so he's asking, I didn't do one, but I can. I don't think they have it in my math lab, but it's a good question. So he's saying, well, what if you divide by negative number? How does that work here with a compound inequality? Okay, so let's look at one. So let's suppose we had this. Let's suppose we had negative 4 is less than 2 minus x is less than, let's say, 7. Okay? All right. So if I were to cover this inequality, how would you get negative x by itself? subtract 2. So subtract 2 from all parts, just like you would normally do. A negative 4 and a negative 2 is a negative 6. Is less than what, though?
Negative X.
Negative x. I'm going to go ahead and write as negative 1x. Negative 1x is less than 5. All right, so that's where I'm at. Okay, now, the next step is to do what?
Divide by 2.
Divide by negative 1. So you got to divide all parts by negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over. Negative 6 is less than negative 1x is less than 5. So I'm dividing by negative 1. All parts, just like this, all three things. But since I'm dividing an inequality by a negative number, I've got to reverse both of these inequality symbols, right? So I get this then. What's negative 6 divided by negative 1? Positive 6 is what? Greater than what? X is what? Greater than negative 5. So that's where I'm at. So far what I have is correct. Okay? Now, what this says right here is that my solutions are between 6 and what? Negative 5 or negative 5 and what? 6. That's what that says. So on the number line, here's negative 5, here's 6, right? So on negative 5, do I need parentheses or brackets? Parentheses pointing which way? Now be careful because you're going to say, well, that says greater than, right?
Negative 5 point to the right.
Okay, to the right. And over here, you're going to see 6, and you're going to say, well, that says greater than, so you're going to say, well, I'm going to point it to the right as well. Nope. You're pointing which way? To the left. Because my solution is between what two numbers? Negative 5 and 6. Okay, that part wasn't difficult. Now here's the difficult part, the interval notation. So remember, when you do interval notation, you always go from what? Meaning smallest to largest. So do I say 6 to negative 5? No. You got to say negative 5 to what? 6. So remember, we always tend to rewrite it going from smallest to largest. So go backwards, just like you did before. Remember when we had the variable on the other side? Do the same thing. You're going to say negative 5 is what? Negative 5 is what? Less than x is less than 6. And that's what this is, right? See this? So the interval notation is say negative 5 comma to what? 6 with parentheses. So that's how you would deal with the negative. Okay? All right, so those are your 5 problems. So let me show you what the worksheet looks like.